War Eagle, War Rapport family, it's your boy C Dub, and today's live show is brought to you by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. For more information on them, please be sure to check them out at gwt2energy.com. The Weekend Tailgate starts now.
You are now listening to the unmistakable sound of the War Rapport. Weekend Tailgate. It's your boy, I Jones. Be real. C-Dub. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. Welcome to the latest and greatest Weekend Tailgate. You are joining the best Auburn community online, the War Rapport family.
Yeah.
Come on in here, y'all. Smash the like button, drop comments, leave us a War Eagle, shout out your city, do all the necessary. We got a lot to talk about today. It's all about ADay, our thoughts about that. Hey, before we do that, we got a few things I want you guys to do. If you're on this show, you rocking with the War Rapport, do us a favor. Share this video. On social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, share it and use the hashtag the War Rapport and hashtag get your weight up. All right. Let people know we out here, that there's some great Auburn content out here, guys. Let us know we here. You know, don't hog all this to yourself. Share it with a friend, share it with your community, share it with your network of people. Please do that. That'll help us out a ton. Now, Mike G, we got some things coming up this week, don't we, sir?
Yes, we do. So chop it up with a pro. Chris Todd is coming up. And so I am super excited about this segment with Chris Todd. He is going to be breaking down film with Ike Jones and myself. You don't want to miss this. We're going to be talking quarterback play with the quarterback. The first quarterback at Auburn under Gus Malzahn. So if you are an insider, this is exclusive to you. If you don't know what Chop It Up with a Pro is, here's a sneak peek.
The fake is gonna bring that safety down, but that safety did a good job of recovering and picking up the over route.
What do you need to make sure that you're aware of in case something doesn't happen?
He's got to look back to the left.
Right.
Looking at the center's footwork, with whichever way the center's sliding, he's going to step with that foot first. But the center and the right guard have got to see that quicker.
When you have Tank leak out, Tank is going to catch that ball every time they do it. This over route that they're running is going to be open.
Woo! Like I said, exclusive to insiders, $5.99 a month will get you there. So you can join from our YouTube page. If you're on an iPhone, you got to go through a few extra hoops, find yourself a computer, get to the War Report's front page on YouTube, hit that join button to become an insider. Other than that, our GoFundMe is live. If you want to support the work that we're doing here, this is a great way to do it. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. And as always, we want you to get your weight up. This is a great way to do it. Hit the merch store. Another great way to support our content. Get your War Report gear. Fellas.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this.
Back to the community real quick, man. Just want to shout out a few people. Listen, I love that we have people all over, man, watching us live. Shout out to Jack Kirby from Vermont. I think that's a first one.
Way up there.
Shout out to one of our community members, Michael from Denver. We see you, man. War Eagle to you, good sir. Of course, I see a few people. George Miller, Bristol, Tennessee. See if I'm seeing somebody from somewhere. We had somebody from where yesterday?
We got a guy from
Panama City.
No, it was like another country.
Was it Guatemala? Yeah, I think it was.
Wow, man, that was so crazy, dude. Oh, we got
Lance Bailey all the way from Warrior. That's not too far from Birmingham. But yeah, man, like it's good to see you guys. Listen. Just want to shout out a few people from far and near. But everybody want to talk about our thoughts. We tried to be tight-lipped yesterday. We just wanted to be about everyone else's reaction. But I said we tried. We tried it. Didn't work. You know what I mean? We got into
it was an instant reaction. What do you want from us besides the whole purpose of that was to react.
Right.
And that's what we did. We reacted.
Now, listen, I'm a soapbox for 30 seconds here, right? Like I appreciate the engagement.
Let me tell you this.
I really appreciate the engagement after our lives. We always appreciate you guys, but listen, there were a lot of people in their feelings about us just being fans yesterday.
People were in their feelings about us being in our feelings.
Yeah. Like, listen, we were just fans yesterday, right? So the deep dive always comes after we WTF.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say about it. So if you're gonna be mad about me just being a fan, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It is what it is, y'all. Wait until the season starts and the games matter, and then you're gonna love the actual real reactions we give at that time too, because you ain't gonna get no better reactions from anybody out there because we're not gonna hold back. It's gonna be what I felt in that moment after watching what I saw on the field.
Exactly.
I ain't gonna analyze nothing. I'm just gonna tell you how I felt, and we'll get into the analysis the next day.
Yeah,
and it gives us time to cool off. Maybe we was tripping. Or maybe we were sunshine pumping. Like maybe we should not have been as happy about what we saw. Like again, watching the film has a way of putting things in perspective, so that when we come here on Sundays, we're giving you guys an objective take on what transpired on the field. So with that, talking about what happened on the field, of course, it was ADay yesterday. I just want to know you guys' thoughts about the production of ADay. Let's talk about the format of the game. All right. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are as it pertains to special teams, how it was laid out in terms of ones versus like what were your overall thoughts about the ADay game? And I'll start with you, Ike. Talk to us.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed from going back and watching that I lamented over yesterday is I don't think the initial plan was for them to actually return any of those kicks. I think that it was supposed to be a situation where, like, if you watch the very first kickoff, the up back comes back and he puts his hand out like, all right, we're cool. And Tank returns it anyway. And he kept running all the way to the end zone. And then when he goes to the sideline, you see Cadillac's facial expression. He's pretty much laughing at him like, man, what are you doing out there? And I think it was just a thing of like, all right, well, he started doing that. I'm going to let Shivers go return one. And then so they just kept doing it because it was like, man, you let Tank run one back. How come I can't do it? Right. So I think Tank just took it upon himself to be like, I'm bringing it out. He knew he wasn't going to get hit. So he was just like, I'm going to return it, whatever. And so I have to back off of like, why are we even doing this? Because if you actually watch later, they didn't even start the clock on the return. So it's not like it took up game time. It was just something they wanted to return the kicks and get a feeling of return at 100 yards. They let them do it. And they even stopped making it a possession change, right? The first time Tank did it, they went to the second team offense because it was like, all right, cool. Well, we're going to flip it over. And second team is going to start as opposed to first team. Because typically when you have spring game, first team is the first offense that's going to hit the field. They started with first team defense. So I have to back off of that. Like, why are we doing this? I think that they just letting them have fun. Right. So no problem with that. Outside of that, formatting wise, I don't like seeing Tank and Shivers return kicks though. And it seems as if they're letting them do that in the spring game. That's what they're going to allow them to do in the season. If not, I don't understand the purpose at all of that. So I don't think I really like that. But outside of that, the format of the game, we'll get more into expectations versus reality here in a minute. Formatting wise, I didn't have a ton of issues with the game format itself. I do dislike some things about like who got to play and how, but I'll get into that later. But now on a whole separate portion, I hated the way ESPN, I said this yesterday and I stand by, I hate the way ESPN produced this from a visual standpoint. Didn't like it very much at all. Didn't like the commentary that was happening during the game. It felt like, me and B were talking about this, it felt like we were watching a blowout game, right? Like, you know how it happens, like, you know, this game is pretty much over and the commentators aren't even really commenting on what they see on the film. They're just talking about whatever. They're like, oh yeah, because, you know, this guy, you know, and they're talking about Bama and all. I'm like, this ain't, but can you talk to me about what I'm seeing, please?
Yeah.
Like, so I didn't like that. They were calling the wrong players out a lot of the times. I did not like, we got their D team doing our ADay game from an ESPN standpoint. I did not like that. So, yeah.
Okay. B, what about you, man?
I mean, most of what Ike said, I didn't mind the format, like, because Ike was watching film last night. He's at my house. He's downstairs on the Roku, on the app, going, all right, see this right here, see some backup. So I saw this.
So you can verify. I do actually sit there and rewatch these games over and over and over again. Like, he got to sit there beside me while I was like watching the same play. Like, hey man, nah man, because I'm finna rewind this right. He probably was like, man, I didn't see this play like 4 times.
I mean, I appreciate the effort, because I'm never there to break down film with Ike. So it was good to see that effort, and I'm learning watching it, just like y'all learn when y'all watch him break down film by himself and with the pros. However, I couldn't hang quite late. So, I mean, you know, he had some whiskey, and he poured himself a glass. I poured myself a very small glass. And I don't know how long he was up, but but watching it with him, like the kickoff thing, the only thing I would hope with the kickoff thing is that they put them back there. They weren't intending them to return it at all. That's what I hope. I hope we don't see them returning it. That was just hey, we don't want to show them who's going to be returning kicks for us in the fall. So let's just put guys out there who have already done it. So that way they don't need to know who our specialists. They don't need to go back to high school tape for these guys and see it, because that's what a good coaching staff would do. Oh, this guy returned kicks in high school, didn't he? So let's go and watch it. If it's, you know, Javarius Johnson or Malcolm Johnson Jr. So let's not put those guys out there. They'll work on it behind the scenes in practice in the fall. And we'll just put some guys back there and not have them do anything. But Tank and Shivers just had some fun. So I'm fine with that. I think what bugged me the most about the production was actually how poorly ESPN did that. You are talking to an Auburn fan base broadcasting this game. You are not talking to a national fan base. This is the Auburn ADay game, and you're not on the main channel where people are coming to ESPN2 to see the game before, the game after. You don't have to sell other programs or other programs' watchability on our ADay game stream. This is just ours. Why don't you know the players? Why don't you know, oh, number 5, that's Kobe Hudson? No, it's not Kobe Hudson, because that guy was on defense. Why don't you know that? I've been working at Auburn for the time that I did. I was in the student center when the ESPN crew would come in before they head over to the stadium, and they are having lunch. And if you just walk by the room where we got them set up, they are talking through on whiteboards. All right, this is number so-and-so. He's had this type of year. They really got a spotlight on him this year. Let's get into his story a little bit. They're going over their talking beats for the broadcast of the game. That's happening. They study before the game. They studied before they even got there. They were like, all right, remember we talked about this for this guy. Let's make sure we really put a spotlight on that. Of course, you know, during the 2017 season, it was, so we got to say that Jared Stidham is from Texas. Did we get that? I mean, you know, because they got to say Jared Stidham's from Texas.
Right.
But I didn't see that effort for the broadcasters. They had a bunch of guys. Stinchcom's broadcast SEC games. It's just like they were like, oh, ADay, I'm at home. Who cares? Just give me the rosters and we'll do all right. I don't want to see that from you. You give our game that is being broadcast to our fans the intentional effort and the respect that it deserves. Because if you just want to be whatever about it, do the post game, do the SEC Network thing where you cut up 10 minutes of the game and review it. This is a live broadcast. Treat our game and our players with some respect. I did not appreciate that, and that stuck out most to me. About the broadcast, even some of the replays. It's like if we want to see what just happened, they didn't have it queued up right. It seems like nobody there had actually done a live game before, and they treated it like it was I don't know, like
it was their scrimmage too. They was practicing. Yeah. Like we got practice announcers too, man. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. Yeah, it was frustration for me on rewatch.
But That stuck out the most. I didn't particularly. We can get into the particulars of the play that we saw later, but those two things in particular stuck out to me about yesterday's broadcast.
Mike G, you got anything different?
No, it was the production was terrible. The decision to put it on SEC Network Plus and then to only film Bama on like a regular ESPN channel was already questionable. Then in game, they just didn't show a lot of replays. It seemed almost like we had just a couple camera angles.
Right.
There was no real analysis of what was going on. The commentary wasn't really centered around the team. It was bad to watch. So there's that. Ultimately, if you were a fan and you were looking to see more with your eyes, they didn't give you that during the spring game.
Right.
It looked like high school film. So that's it.
Shout out the Big Gap. I vote to let the War Report call all the ADay games from now until. Well, at least we'll know who the players are.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a few times they called guys who played on the completely different side of the ball. I was like, you don't play defense. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. But again, it's on those types of productions is like Ike said, is they're spitballing too. So they're just winging it. So and it showed. And unfortunately, I don't know what all we'll get to see as far as trying to do film review off of ADay game, because we didn't get a lot of the normal camera angles and views on replays that we normally would get in an actual produced regular season game. So we'll see what we can do moving forward with that. Let's talk about some expectations in that we had going into ADay. I know we had a live show this past Wednesday and we talked pretty extensively about what we wanted to see. Let's talk about what
you're not gonna let us talk about positives first, man. We gonna go straight into that, man.
Well, let's talk about what we actually saw that met our expectations. These kind of goes into the pot. Yeah, this meets our expectations. Like what are some of the good? Let's lead with positivity today. It is Sunday, right? First day of the week. So let's lead with some positivity. What did we see that we can actually be excited about? Starting with you, Mike.
Okay, I about to say who was starting.
What I saw was there is actually an emphasis to get the tight ends involved in the offense, which should open up the pass game quite a bit. So I was excited to see that they came out and did that, right? And we saw a few tight ends catch some balls over the middle. The routes looked a little different. So there's a difference. There's going to be a difference in this offense, right? Like, I think that they came, regardless of how they executed everything, at least the plan was there. Right. And then defensively, I expected to see us flying around the ball. So actually see the defense cause a turnover and on our number one back was encouraging defensively. So I expect that they'll be doing that to all SEC backs during the season. That was encouraging as well too. They seemed to just kind of fly to the ball. There was a couple of we tried to run some quick outs and they were just there ready to tackle for the most part. And then I expected to see some improvement on offensive line, and I think I saw that, right? But what I also saw is that play calling is going to help them a little because I expected to see them get the ball out of Bo's hands faster. And I think I saw that, right? I think I saw, 3-step drop, hit, throw the ball, right? Like, he got the ball out of his hands fairly quickly on some plays. So it was encouraging just to see them try something. It's going to be a different offense at the end of the day. So what I was looking for was something different. We certainly got that. How they executed it is a totally different topic. So
yeah. I want to shout out before I pass it off to B. Shout out to you, Chris Vincent, for the super chat. Appreciate that, my brother. B Will, you've been a man of many words when it comes to what you saw yesterday. Did you see some positives? Did you see anything that you expected going into ADay? That actually came into fruition for you?
The defense looks the part. We knew we had a lot of good pieces in the tank. We knew we had a lot of good pieces still on the roster, and we saw. It's hard to gauge because we don't know what the offensive line is. Without knowing what the offensive line is, we don't know what the defensive line is when we see it because it's hard to compare. We don't know if one unit is beating up on a really bad unit, or if the offensive line is much improved and the defensive line is just really good and they're still giving the offensive line everything it can handle. So it's hard to gauge that. But what I did see from the defense was they looked engaged. They looked like they knew where they were going, and that's really big to me. I know they've been seeing this offense in scrimmages and in practices, but Derek Mason as a D coordinator has an intensity, has from everything that we've heard, there are enough defensive minds on the staff to have those guys playing really well, intentionally knowing where they're going, being in position. I saw some zone, which was good to see because Kevin Steele was pretty much like, oh, man, no matter what. I mean, and it worked because we had secondary players that were really good. They were skilled. They were well developed. But I am glad to see that there were times we had 2 down linemen. One guy was standing upright. We had 3 down linemen and 2 guys were upright, ready to rush. We saw some multiple things, and the only reason I know any of that stuff is because I watch film with Ike. That's it. I wouldn't even say the phrase 2 down linemen. That's all Ike. But I saw enough variety and effort there that I am very comfortable where we are there. I think the improvement with the run blocking, which I expected from hearing about the increase in strength and endurance from the entire team, that was like, okay, like we thought, this is going to be a defense and running the ball, defense running the ball. And even if we didn't like exactly what we saw from the offense, those 2 things being in place will have us in position to win, I think, at least 8 games. I think 8 games, if our defense is what I think it is, extrapolating from what we saw, and our run game is what we think it is between Tank and Shivers and some additional staffs for a couple of the other guys that'll be on the roster, then we can win 8 games. And that gave me comfort. I did like seeing that. So those were the things where I like, good. That's what I thought was going on in camp. I saw it. Good. Good.
What about you, Ike?
Yeah, so I liked what I saw from – I've been talking about the guy forever. Canyon looked good to me. He was out there doing work. His route running was crisp. He caught the ball when it was thrown in his direction. He had – when I look at a receiver, it's not just, to me, about making catches. It's the way that they catch the ball, right? So the touchdown that he caught, right? It was all hands, and he plucked it out of the air really well. He ran the route well. If you looked at how it was designed, he ran that route really well. He disguised some stuff that he was doing in routes. The deep corner route that he ran, where he caught it looked like it was set up for a screen. He ran a little corner route. I liked that. The one that was thrown behind him and he lunges back to the sideline. I don't know whether or not he tweaked something or if it was a cramp or what happened after that play, but he did come up hobbled after that. But it was a really great catch by him on that pass. Canyon looked good. I liked the variety that we saw in the screen game yesterday.
Yeah.
So we saw a running back screen. We saw a tunnel screen. We did see, the quick game where it was, stacked receivers on the outside. They threw a quick screen to the outside, but we saw a variety of different ways that they intended to run the screen game. I liked every bit of that I saw. This one's going to be a little controversial, and y'all can be mad at me if you want to. Sean Shivers looked like the best running back on the field yesterday. Yeah, Tank might have gotten the touchdown. Sean Shivers looked like the best running back on the field yesterday. He held on to the ball. He was seeing the creases really well. He ran hard. He ran through contact. Sean Shivers looked really, really good yesterday. I liked everything that I saw out of him yesterday. So I don't know, man. I like the 2-headed beast that we may have approaching here in running back. Even like the way that the offensive line run blocked. There were some really good holes that they opened up. They weren't perfect. I don't expect to, being good
First
on
team.
the line.
First team.
Yeah. I mean, even second team, there were some good run lanes that they opened up there against the first team defense. The first team defense was just better. Right. I expect them to dominate them, But I do like what I saw run blocking. I don't expect, again, perfection out of an offensive line. That's just never going to be the case. The defense is going to get you on a play here or there. The one time Lee Hunter got in there and got on the 4th down stop, that's going to happen every now and then. So I don't expect perfection, but I did like what I saw out of our run blocking game, and I did love what I saw out of Sean Shivers. So that's it. Yeah,
for me, man, I'm impressed with the usage of the tight ends. I think to Mike G's point, we've been seeing Schenker as kind of like a lower check down route. Like, we actually saw tight ends down the field running routes. They're not in the flat. They're not somewhere where the quarterback can easily see them. They're actually a part of the routes that's being ran. So I like to see that. I was actually impressed, to your point, Ike, about the O-line and how they were blocking. They actually did some good things in pass pro.
Yeah.
So I was actually happy to see that. And because they were running the ball, they were able to run play action up under center, which is also something that we saw a few times yesterday. They were able to set up the play action, which actually bought the QB time because of that. So for me, those were some things that I saw that actually, I think if you're able to run the ball effectively, and you should be able to with Tank and Shivers, that will set you up to do a lot of good things in the pass with play action. So those are some of the things that I saw that I like. Of course, the defense has been the defense. Most of the development and work is going to come on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense, because of where they are in their stage of being developed, they're just going to do what they do. And that's pretty much what we saw out of the guys from the secondary there was some of the linebackers were laying the lick on Tank. So yeah, they were laying some, like they're going to be good as usual. So
yeah, I like for me though. Is it Chris Thompson?
Thompson, number 5?
Yeah, safety. Yeah. I liked he was when he decided he was coming downhill against the run. Yeah. He was very decisive. He hit Tank pretty good a couple of times. He hit Shivers pretty good a couple of times. I liked what I saw out of him.
Steiner laid a lick on a few people.
Steiner was downhill pretty good. Yeah. Recognition early in a couple of plays. The middle linebacking core, and again, we already said I knew the secondary was going to be good. Secondary did not disappoint. The very first play of the game, Smoke Monday, blew up that wide receiver on the quick out the pass. I was like, man, yeah, if I can see this a lot this year, I'm gonna be happy. So.
Absolutely. Do have a question by a commenter. Do we need a wide receiver in the portal? I don't think so, because we still have some guys injured that I expect to actually contribute this season. Capers being one of them. So, like, I think we get those guys back. I think we'll be in good shape. I just think the guys are just young, and especially ones that we saw. The most experienced guy had the best day, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that they're young. They're going to.
Hudson has more game experience.
That's true.
Yeah, Kobe Hudson has more game experience, and he had an up and down day, right? Like, he had a drop there. Some of the other stuff that he did in the slot was good. He's to me, I think Kobe can be a really good wide receiver. It's consistency for him. I just need to, I see in him some of the things that I like about a receiver, but I also see some things where it's like, hey, this has got to get better, right? Like, I don't think our receivers blocked particularly well on the edges yesterday. Again, we'll get into that. My bad. Sorry, my bad.
I was happy to see Pegues. That looks like a good decision that they put him on. Like, he was actually blowing up some things on the D line. Like, I was happy to see him. I thought Lee Hunter looked good at times. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
I got some thoughts on JJ Pegues I'll get to later.
Yeah. And I agree with I don't think we need a wide receiver out of the portal. I think our guys just have to get more practice. They got to get more reps. And I don't think there was ever a time where I was more disappointed that we have these rules. Happy we have the rules for the sake of the health of the players, but you need reps. And you need reps with coaches. Like, they say all the time, you can get out there and go with your quarterback and throw. Yeah, but listen, man, y'all don't know this system well enough to be able to coach each other up on what did or did not happen.
Yeah.
We weren't training our wide receivers skill-wise well enough for you all to be able to go out there and critique each other. If there was a senior wide receiver who had 3 years of experience on the field
in
and
this
he went
system.
out in
Right.
this system, and he was going out there and running routes with young guys and absent of a coach, then that's work that can be done. But what they need the most is work with the coaches, the wide receiver coach and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. And they need to be getting coaching as they're practicing reps. And they won't get that until late July.
Yeah.
So they're just behind because of the new system, because of their age, and we won't really see it. I think they're there. That the talent is in there. In the
I
group
agree.
that we've got, even with the guys that are injured, you throw them back in there. We've got a good 4 very good wide receivers as well. I think we've got, but I don't think they start showing what they can do until we're a month into the season, unfortunately.
Agreed. People are asking us, and shout out to CM. Any idea on why Handy, Hardy, and Moultrie were out? I have no clue. Harson he was asked about it, did not give any details, so we know as much as you do about that.
I don't know.
Hoping they're still part of the team, hoping they're still in good standing, but yeah, we have no clue on that unless somebody knows something I don't.
Yeah,
So.
no, he didn't. And from what he was saying, it didn't sound like it was injuries. It sounded like various reasons why they did not participate in the game. So I don't know.
Right.
He did say they are still with the team, though.
Yeah.
He led with that, which made me think it was something from a disciplinary standpoint. But what it was, don't know. So yeah, we see you guys' comments in here. We appreciate y'all being active with us. We see a lot of people watching live with us. Do something else, guys. If you're enjoying today's show, if you're enjoying this content, please go out on social media and share this video so that other people are aware of the War Report and what we're doing. And not only just share it, please use the hashtag the War Report and hashtag get your weight up so people know it is us. All right. Please get the word out there that we are here and we're bringing you some of the best content online as it pertains to Auburn information and sports. Also, Mike, what's coming down the pipeline, man?
Chop it up with a pro, Chris Todd. So we'll be breaking down film with Chris Todd on Thursday with Ike. Chris is a marquee mind in college, in football. This guy understands the game. We're going to be breaking up some film from last year. So I highly encourage you, if you are not an insider, become one. $5.99 a month will get you there. This is going to be exclusive for our insiders. So if you want to be able to engage and interact with us on that segment, Thursday night, 9 p.m. And if you're an insider and you miss it live, you will be able to go back and rewatch that. So our GoFundMe is up. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. This is a great way to support us, as well as our merch store. As Caesar said, hashtag get your weight up. This is a great way to do it and support our content at the same time.
Appreciate that, sir. I got a question for you, bro. You've been watching a lot of film on what you saw. We got a lot of questions about, or people comments on Burks at defensive tackle. What did you see out of him, man? What are your thoughts?
I mean, he was solid all day. Super. So just from the defensive line standpoint, one of the things that, again, frustrated me about what I was able to kind of get from the broadcast was like, you weren't able to see numbers really well from the defensive players to see who was doing, like, it's if they weren't making the tackle themselves or they weren't like flashing on the screen, I wasn't able to like say, okay, let me pause this and see, okay, who is this number? Who is this number? Like, so it was kind of difficult to see that. Burks he did pretty good though. Like, I didn't have a ton of issue with anybody along the defensive line, on first team, I should say, with how they performed. It's difficult. And I'll say this about really both offense and defense, to know how well they were actually performing, considering we did not get an opportunity to see best on best in this game, right? So, you know, looking dominant against your counterpart when the counterpart is clearly the second best person at that position doesn't tell me a ton, you know? So, you know, yeah, he played well against the second team offensive line, right? So like, or yeah, he played. So I don't know, you know, Lee Hunter getting that stop in the backfield tells me a little bit more about Lee Hunter, right? Because he's playing against what is supposedly a better offensive line than, somebody else. So him getting that, JJ disrupting a couple of plays tells me something about his ability on recognition. And this is what I said I was going to come back to JJ. I know the question was specifically about Burks. He looks like he's tired a lot out there. He's going to need to get his conditioning a little bit better. Like, I just wonder whether or not his strength and conditioning program early was leaning towards what he needed to do offensively. And he's going to, being on defense is way different from a strength and conditioning standpoint of what you have to do play in and play out. It's like one play he would look really good. The next play, it was like he was completely not there, and he's getting
catching his
washed
breath.
out. Right. And so he needs to work on that to be able to play more consistently. But yeah, the question was about Burks. Burks looked pretty good yesterday from a snap to snap perspective. Now, this is after me watching I think I had 3 full watches, and then I keyed in on a couple of plays. So this is not like a super thought out film analysis, right? Like, I didn't go play for play. Like, all right, who is this guy? Like, I ain't do all of that like I would normally do. But I will. At some point in time, I'm going to get an opportunity because I don't have no more film to look. All the stuff that people wanted me to be able to do, which is move on to the new players, don't worry. But see, this is my frustration with ADay. I don't know that I'm going to be able to give you like a really, really thought out analysis because what am I actually seeing here? Right. So, but I'll still do my best to look at the film and analyze it from that standpoint because I got it. I have it here to see. So I'll do my best to give you as much as I can.
Few comments here. To answer Ethan's question, Hardy did not get playing time. That was one of the questions that was asked previously by a commenter about Harsin being asked, did we know about Hardy, Alec Jackson, Moultrie, a few other people who were out. We don't know why they were out, but they did not play. George Miller, in response to you, Mike G, about get your weight up, he says, you forget there's a lot of us that need to get our weight down. I hear you, George Miller. You can still get your weight up by losing weight.
That is actually, it's funny. That is, get your weight up is not actually about physically getting your weight up. It's really a euphemism for improving, your mindset and where you're at and
it's
and how you think
specifically
about
about
things.
strength and conditioning, getting your weight up, right? So like whether you're heavy or not, you can still trim and be able to lift more weight, right? Because you're in better shape.
Yeah, man. Muscle weighs more than fat. So at the end of the day, getting your weight up is not just about the number on the scale, but more of a mindset. All right. So thank you for that comment.
Also, A.U. Robinson, and this is where I want to transition us into talking about our expectations that were not met. He mentions, really wish we got to see more of Davis. And I'm pretty sure
about it.
I'm pretty sure some of us on this show here, namely the guy to your right of me, has some opinions about this, Mike G. What are your thoughts, man, in terms of expectations you had going into ADay? And by the way, we all stayed on like a little stream after this, and watching some of our reactions to ADay was pretty priceless. Okay, Mike G, talk to us, man. What are your thoughts on what you was expecting to see that you didn't get a chance to see?
Okay, so we're finally here, right? Because this is
Finally.
waiting on all the rest of that bullshit y'all was talking to. Right, like so here's where I'm at, right?
Where's Mama Giddens when you need her?
The format of ADay, right, in terms of how they roll players out there, like the roster management, I guess.
Yeah.
Was
talk about the roster management. Talk about the gun line boss.
Puzzling, right? Here's where I'll start. The decision to play Loy almost a whole first half baffles my mind.
Yeah.
Right? Forget Bo, forget Davis, forget everybody else. Like, I mean, they played him like they thought he was the clear front runner for the number 2 spot.
Facts.
And I didn't see that yesterday.
Facts.
Right. So what I thought we were going to see was, what does the competition at QB look like behind Bo?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that we saw that yesterday. So, for everybody in their feelings about, it's ADay it doesn't mean anything. That's bullshit, man. Like, ADay means something. These practices mean something, right? They do mean something. They're not meaningless.
It's reps.
Right. It's reps.
No doubt.
Right.
So, why give a bunch of reps to a trash? I'm sorry. Listen, if you ramp
player.
Lloyd's uncle or mom or dad, Your son needs work.
These players don't think
Let's
that
be
ADay
clear.
is meaningless, right?
Correct.
Players don't think
Players
that
do
ADay is
not.
meaningless, right? This was their chance to showcase their talents, and they gave us a whole half of Grant Loy.
Bruh.
Come on. Like, I mean, I was very frustrated by that. And I just thought that we would see more of the other QBs behind Bo, because we, if you watch us, we have resigned ourselves. Well, I've resigned myself. You guys got there faster than I did. Hey, listen, Bo's going to start, but what is our backup plan after Bo?
Right.
Whether he gets hurt or if he just doesn't play well. I just want to see what else we got in the tank.
Yeah.
And I thought, we missed. I questioned, because I said this when we were on with JG Tate, and I've been saying it for the last few weeks, that it just has felt to me like there's not much of a QB competition going on. So you're not looking at what we saw yesterday and telling me that Loy has been the guy pushing Bo all spring.
I'm just saying, just keep your thought, but just
yeah.
want you
Listen,
to
I mean, listen, I know it's Sunday, whatever. Like, I'm very frustrated by what I saw yesterday, right? With how much they played Loy. That was very disappointing. Elsewhere,
if anybody sees anything in that Grant Loy thing other than WTF, and I don't mean watch the film, then I don't know why you see it.
Yeah, that was not a meaning. I mean, I thought that was that. I have been preaching that the way this staff evaluates talent is going to be drastically different. I think that still holds true. But right. I just, that was probably the most puzzling decision of ADay to me. And he was hurt most of the spring anyway.
Right.
How the hell did you roll him out there for a whole half?
Right.
And you know what that does is you putting him out there affects negatively other players' ability to be able to showcase what they can do.
Correct.
Because he did not come close to hitting anything near what looked like a completed pass almost the entire first half.
Yeah, I didn't go back and chart this like I wanted to, but I think he had 2 or 3 completions. I know he had.
They gave him 4. I think it was 4 for 12.
Yeah, I mean, it was
4
terrible.
for 12. And let's be clear, 2 of those 4 weren't great throws. He completed the pass, but they weren't great throws. So
he didn't look like
it was bad by all. One of the throws Grant Loy had, and I might have said this yesterday, it was the only read he took on the entire play. So don't talk to me about throwaways. Landed 5 yards out of bounds.
Yeah.
It was so like he dropped back. That's the only receiver he ever looked at on the play, and it landed 5 yards out of bounds. Right. Another one was a crossing route. He overthrew the guy. I was like, I don't even know. Were you trying?
I thought there was a route behind that guy that he was trying to hit, but there was nobody there.
Nobody there. Nobody there. Like, you're telling me somebody ran the wrong route? Like, it was just so bad.
Right.
It was
okay.
So bad.
So I guess to just put a dot on my thought about this was what you hope to see by ADay is that some of these things have started to flesh themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly will have position battles that go into the fall.
Right.
But I just feel like if we already know who the number 1 QB is, job number 1 should be develop the guy you have and make sure that there's a serviceable backup. Start figuring out. Now, if we go into the season and Loy is the number 2, I'm going to blow a damn gasket. I really am. That's not. I mean, I just don't understand. If that were an audition, he failed at that audition terribly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I think. I think maybe Caesar was saying that yesterday. Maybe this was like, hey, you've missed a lot of spring. This is your last chance before we get done with spring brawl to show us something. And they were giving him more snaps because he missed some.
That's crap. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying I like it.
I'm not saying
if you miss the time, right? It was clear that there was a better QB behind him. You're not telling me that those guys didn't make up ground. Guys lose their job to injury all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You got injured. Sure. You're not telling me that based on what we saw, that none of those other guys showed you enough that they earned more snaps during ADay than Grant Loy, right? Like I have a hard. I just have a hard time with that decision. And it delved into some other things that were curious to me because it started with that. Now, what my mic, I was recording the game for our Chop It Up film, and unbeknownst to me, I had a hot mic on, and my mic was hot, and I didn't hear it until I went back and watched it. But by the end of the second quarter, I was losing it because of how much we were seeing Grant Lloyd. I would have rather seen a whole half of just Bo.
Yeah. Why not?
Than him. To
He
me,
needs to work too.
I mean, I just think, yeah, hey man, this guy's our star. I'd rather see more of him than that. He didn't even look like a backup out there. Right. So then you put Demetrius Davis.
He like a walk-on.
Right now, let me tell you again. You've been watching this. You know how high I've been on Demetrius Davis, and his first 3 play calls were again disappointing. We didn't get a chance to see much from him, and then when he does get a chance, he drops the best pass of ADay. Let's be clear. He made the best pass of ADay. Was it to Malcolm Johnson?
It was to Malcolm Johnson. Yeah.
Hey, something that we have not seen consistently done at Auburn over the last few years, but just in the little bit that they actually gave him, he went out there and actually showed us something. He dropped a dime in over the outside shoulder, gave the receiver a chance to catch the receiver or nobody, put it out there, took the defender out of the play. I just thought it was like, okay, like, wow. This guy clearly has talent, and I've been screaming about his accuracy for the last 4 months. This guy is accurate. Now, he made some freshman mistakes, right? Like, you know, that you can't do in a game by any stretch, right? You know, there was a throw over the middle that just should not have been thrown. But what I also saw when you go back and you look at the few plays that he passed the ball, he sat in the pocket, man, with guys all around him, and tried to deliver strikes. Right, the line they were getting what we would call pressure on him. He just stood there and threw the ball.
Yeah,
I thought that was good. So him over Lloyd, like, come on, man. Like,
I don't know that there's a quarterback on our roster that I wouldn't take above Lloyd. Hey, honestly,
seriously,
maybe, yeah, but like, just I don't. I mean, he was only in there for like 3 plays, but Shea Garnett still looked better than Lloyd on those 3. I just don't like any. I'm sorry, I don't like anything I saw out of Lloyd.
So with that, I do want to point this out. Like, this is what we talked about offline, but someone asked it here. Shout out Greg Wheatley. Do you think they're definitely planning on redshirting Davis?
Right. So
I think that may be the initial plan. I don't know if they actually get a chance to follow through on that, given what we saw on ADay. But I think that may have been the plan.
How they played Lloyd made me think that the plan was to redshirt Davis, at least initially.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. You know, I can get behind that.
Yeah. Bo doesn't have a history of being injured. So if you're going to start the season with him, barring just a catastrophic collapse on his point, you're expecting him to finish the season, and you want to save a year of eligibility for Demetrius if he's not going to get a chance to supersede Bo this year.
Do you know why that frustrates me even more, though?
Why?
Because if you're thinking about redshirting, who in my mind showed the best QB2 potential, then why on earth did Shea Garnett play so little?
What is up?
Right.
Like, there's no way he can't redshirt again.
Yeah.
Right. That addresses Davis, but it doesn't address Shea Garnett. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that.
Even more curious questions into the use of Shea Garnett during ADay. Like, now I'm just super frustrated. Like, why does this kid only get the last 45 seconds of ability to show what he's not, man? He's gone. He's got to transfer, bro.
He's out of here.
So we saved all our thoughts for this, right? And again, there were a lot of commenters in their feelings about, oh, y'all overreacting to ADay. And I'm like, no, it's not an overreaction to say, hey, listen, there are some concerns here. We didn't expect them to have it all put together yesterday. But the plan, I just thought we would have more fleshed out by ADay, right? You know, are guys not separating themselves? This is the question I have, right? So no quarterback out behind Bo separated themselves in the QB competition over 15 practices. None. Come on, man. Like, but I think that what we saw on ADay, I mean, because I'm not watching every practice, so I don't know how Lloyd practices. I've had this question about Bo too. Does he just look good in practice and then go out there and then you see something different on the field, right? But again, all indications were Lloyd sat out quite a bit of the spring with injury. And I just thought that was an opportunity for somebody else to step up and showcase. And if you're a receiver, right, you got robbed in that first half, man.
Yeah.
If I'm a receiver, you put me on the field with Grant Lloyd, I got robbed.
Yeah. That's factual though. Like you did not get an opportunity to show anything because the guy who was pulling the trigger didn't help you at all. He didn't help you at all. If you're a running back in that situation, you got limited snaps because you were off the field so quickly because Lloyd wasn't able to keep the offense on the field. Like I'm not even like, and again, we can talk about how well the first team defense played, but you have to look at how poorly the second team quarterback played in orchestrating any of that stuff. It looked awful. He was missing guys that were open.
And to be going ones versus twos, and then to see that, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, I just felt like, all right, you know, if we're gonna go ones versus twos, I expected the offense to win a little bit more than they did.
Right.
That's a fair point, actually.
I just expected them to win a little bit more, and for us to see the reason that you should be doing that is to give yourself a chance. It's Gus mentality, which I don't really disagree with. But if you're gonna do it, right, you should at least be able to execute
in the scrimmage, in the ADay game. Yes,
right. In the passing game. Right. Now we executed the run game certainly. And if you go back and you look again, I forgot what the guy's name is constantly here saying that Bo needs 4+ seconds on every play to throw the ball, right? But like what I saw an offensive line that gave adequate time for plays, well-called plays to develop. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't going to be perfect because our defense is always going to get pressure on the quarterback. They're always going to get to you. In the SEC, defenses are going to get to you. So you call plays, you know, and what I saw from, and I'm gonna come full circle back to Bo. Here's what I did. I was encouraged that they have a plan to get the ball out of his hands quickly. I saw more of that. He still needs to be more accurate on those throws because some of those completions were behind the receivers. But I was at least encouraged to see that they're working on something that doesn't have him scrambling around like Johnny Manziel on every play and then trying to find a receiver downfield.
Right.
There were a lot of 2.5 second and out throws, which is they're going to need that. Our offensive line is going to need that, and Bo's going to need that. These receivers are going to need that. So at least they did that. They're working on that. Now, he's got a lifetime worth of habits to fix, so I didn't expect him to have it all fixed during ADay. And, you know, so my evaluation of Bo is he looked about the same, right? You know, some good things, some good, some bad. His thing will just be consistency, and you're not going to do that in 15 practices. He's going to need the summer, right? And he's going to need a ton of reps, and then hopefully building on what he started. By the time the fall gets here, we see a better Bo. I didn't necessarily expect to see a better Bo during ADay, which is why I did not under or overreact to anything that he did.
Right.
Yeah, it was everybody else that really had me like, what? You know, as a matter of fact, Bo was one of the most normal things about this spring game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I had no feelings about him one way or the other than just looking at his fundamentals. It looked like he's trying to set his feet a little bit more. You know, he's trying to stay in the pocket. You know, he's giving into some of those run out to the right impulses here and there. But, you know, it's muscle memory, man. He's trying to fix that. I can accept that. You know, what I can't accept is that you robbed a lot of guys from having a chance to be able in front of 30,000 people. Let's be clear. This is the biggest game a lot of these guys have played in ever. So it is not meaningless. And for commenters to come here and say, oh, it's just this, it's just that. I challenge you to find a player that feels that way.
Yeah.
You can't find one. You can't find one. They all cared about this game, man. They cared.
Yeah, it's an exhibition game for them, and they wanted to be able to show what they had.
Yeah.
I mean, you got family watching. You got all eyes on that. They want to go out and show what they can do.
Yeah, and it's not creating drama or whatever, again, to say that, hey, listen, what I saw was I was just baffled at what I saw in terms of how they managed ADay.
Yeah.
It's not to say there were no positives. There were certainly positives.
Yeah, no, they're like I said, we talked about positives.
We
didn't even
talked
get
for
into
that
all
for
of
30 minutes.
Yeah, I just thought that you missed an opportunity to show a lot more positives because of how they managed it.
Well, let
right?
me jump in, because one thing that we said, we were talking about on Wednesday, what we wanted to see. And I said I wanted to see Bo play, whether terrible or just okay or whatever, and the second team QB get adequate snaps and have a chance to show just as well. Grant Lloyd was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. Either one of the two guys who we thought had a chance to show really well, DD and Garnett, they had no opportunity. There was not an adequate chance. DD had 3 drives. They called it super conservative for the most part when he was in there. He did show flashes, but we didn't get a whole half of him. Can you imagine what it would have looked like if he had gotten some of the calls that Grant Lloyd got when he was in the game?
That was
even better. If you don't trust DD because he's got too much, he's still too raw coming from high school, learning a pro system. Fine, Garnett's been there. He knows football. He's been in college for a year. Give him a chance. Is there something going on that says? I heard somebody say that Garnett had some hamstring problems. Is that the case? Was he hurt this last week of practice?
No,
so he didn't get a chance to participate? Or were you protecting him by not playing him during the game because he had a hamstring injury?
I think Lloyd had a hamstring injury.
I don't.
Right.
For whatever reason,
Lloyd had a hamstring injury.
Everybody get a fair shake. We've got Lloyd, Garnett, DD, Lindsey, Sawyer Pay got some snaps, I know. If you're going to make it fair, what I would have expected to see was first team Bo for the entire first half. Second team for the first quarter, Lloyd. For the second quarter, DD. For the third quarter, Garnett. For the fourth quarter, and then you can even get Peyton and Lindsey in there on some of the first teams in the second half. If that helps, let all of these guys get a shot. Call the plays for them like you're going to call the plays for the first team quarterback.
Right.
Give these guys a chance to show passing accuracy, decision making in the pocket. If they're just going to hand it off 4 times,
correct me if I'm wrong, but in the second half, it was just a straight running clock, no matter what, right?
No matter what. They paused it a couple times, to get the ball back in bounds, but they just started the clock back up.
So here's what I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see no Bo for the second half at all.
Right. That's what I thought.
I think you pretty much
because he basically did everything in the first half anyway. Just rest him and let other guys get those reps.
Yeah, for 10 for 13 in the first half. He made, again, some good, some bad, but basically all we saw there was, listen, he's still a work in progress, but at least they have a plan in place for him. No problem with seeing Bo for a whole first half, right? If you were going to play Lloyd like that after the first, you're on a running clock in the second half, I really think these guys got cheated. They got robbed.
Right.
And you put him in there in the second half on a continuously running clock, and then you send Bo out there for another half a quarter. Right. And I would have liked to just see Davis and Garnett get more. Or who are your clear 3 and 4s need to get more time during the spring game? But sending Trey Lindsey in there for like a drive, I mean, that was a waste to me. Right. Because if you went out there 5th on ADay as a quarterback, I'm assuming that you have no shot to win the job.
Right.
Because they sent you out there 5th.
You're just here for the college experience, buddy.
Right.
You're here for those trips to the bowl games. You here for that camaraderie in the locker room. You here for that nice shot on senior day on the field with your folks. That's what you're here for. Because you're not going to get playing time.
I saw what I needed to see from Demetrius Davis, even in limited time, though. Can't stress that enough. He went out there and he took advantage of what was a really limited opportunity to show what he could do. Eyes downfield, looked calm in the pocket under the rush, right? It looks like he's going to have really good pocket presence. I mean, he had one that he ran, and we don't know how the play would have turned out because they blew it dead. Right. But he did that thing that quarterbacks do when the rush is coming, where it's just like a quick shoulder turn, sidestep, and then make a decision. You're either throwing it or you're running it after that.
And I did like that. And when he made that little sprint, what was quick? What?
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this guy squats over 400 pounds. He's strong, and he's going to be like a little Shivers out there that can throw the ball. That's what he reminded me of. I was like, this is a little mini version of Shivers playing quarterback with an arm. So he's going to be, and it's faster and more agile. So he's going to be a load for people to take. And I really think, he should be our number 2 based on what I saw. Now,
sure,
if there was a chance that that somebody else could have outdone him, right? We won't know because they didn't give us a chance to see that.
Exactly.
Right.
And let's keep that in mind. They didn't give us a chance to see it. And as fans, that's what we wanted was to see it. One of the biggest problems we had with Gus the last 2 years is we didn't see Gatewood. Now, Gatewood may not have been the guy, and he's going to get a chance to start this year at Kentucky, I think, and he still may not be the guy. So that may be a chance where, you know what, Gus was right. But can we see it? Because we didn't show great without Gatewood in there. So I don't think it would have been too different a result with the games that we lost versus the games that we won.
Right.
If we're going to lose anyway, at least give the guy a shot. There was nothing at stake yesterday. What did you lose by playing Loy other than the opportunity for the other guys? There was not a game to be won. So just give the guys a shot. Give us as fans a shot. I want to think there's some possibility that there is something that they don't want everybody to see.
Right.
That they may be protecting certain guys from something right now. And I'm okay with that.
No, fair enough.
I think it's going to wash out eventually. We're just going on what we saw, and we didn't see everything we saw. So that's all we got to break down is what we saw. But it could very well, and somebody made this comment in the comments this earlier, that, listen, ADay, it's a lot to do about nothing in a lot of cases, in a lot of years. The backups, who played what, guys won't make it to the fall, won't even be on the team, guys are going to leave, and not necessarily just because of what transpired during the ADay game. Some of this stuff is cooking behind the scenes anyway. And the coaches don't want you to see this guy for that reason or another. So a lot of this is going to work itself out in the rinse. We have to wait and see what comes of it. We just want to see. If the only way we know that the coach is making the best decisions for us is if we see, all right, we saw guy A, we saw guy B, the coach saw it, we saw it, what decision he's going to make. He made the right decision. He kept the best guy. We don't know if that's what happened here because we didn't see snaps.
But is this how the snaps have been split up in practice? I mean, I have some questions, right? About what kind of opportunity guys are actually getting. And I keep screaming. It just felt like, based on our interviews and some of the things I was hearing, that there's not a whole lot of competition going on in that QB room. Right, is what it felt like to me. Right, and then you rolled this kind of ADay out, and it confirmed a lot of that for me.
Right.
So, I mean, again, ADay, I am going to say this time blue in the face. This was not a meaningless game. This was supposed to be the manifestation and the culmination of 15 weeks, 15 practices of competition, fierce competition for guys vying for a starting spot. And I just wanted to see them go out there and compete. Unfortunately, when you send one quarterback out there, and then you call plays for that quarterback, it limits everybody else's opportunity to showcase what they can do. And it was a good test, man. Like, listen, man, if Lloyd went out there and did that in front of 30,000 of our own fans, and Bo gets hurt during Penn State, you can't tell me that's what we're rolling out in Happy Valley.
Oh, man.
Get ready to run Tank and Shivers. I mean, like, just get your read option game going, and that's it. That's all we're gonna run. We run the ball. That's all we're gonna do.
It's not a read option if you're not expecting him to pull it.
Right. Well, right. Yeah. I mean, like, I just feel like you're not telling me that going into a hostile environment that's what we're putting out there behind Bo.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't think, I mean, it's not just about the starters. It's about the guys that you have backing them up. And the 2 deep has to be better than what it has been in the past. Now, I don't want anybody to hear that I'm down on this staff. I'm not. I'm still very high on this staff. I'm just puzzled by that decision.
Right.
This fall. I mean, that was just very, very puzzling to me, but it also makes me question how these practices are being run and what kind of competition is happening behind the scenes. Now, if you watch us, we don't ever claim to have inside sources. Ever. Yeah. Right. And even if somebody close to the program did tell me something, I'm not coming on alive and parroting to everybody, but I will tell you that we talk to people. and we get a general consensus of what's going on and how people are feeling to form our opinions. Yeah, and I just think, at the end of the day, based on everything I saw and then what I heard after that, I was just like, I thought, what I was expecting to see? I was expecting to see the very beginnings of our offensive identity yesterday.
Right.
What kind of team are we going to be? Right. So if you're watching this, or you watched yesterday, tell me you watched that and you know what kind of offense we're going to put on the field in the fall. Right? Anybody.
I know elements of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Run.
We're going to run the ball. I mean,
but even in the
you
past,
knew that.
There are things that I can look at the pass scheme and say, okay, this is what they intend to do. We saw some intentional the touchdown that Canyon had was a sprint right option, right? Like, so we meant to move and roll the pocket to the right so Bo could be throwing on the run and get that play off. That was well executed. We saw some different things with the tight ends. We saw levels concepts happening on the back end there were deep throws and there were also throws underneath that were available. Those things I can say definitively. Again, I talked about the screen game. There are things that I can see in the offense that are going to be really inventive and creative things that have not been a part of our offenses previously. Right. But again, once you get past QB1, I've got questions.
Right.
I've got some very serious questions about that.
Tim Darden says, so now Harsin will not be questioned when Loy is not trotted out to finish a game in September. Right. Which, again,
anybody care if that happened? Like, who cared about that unless your last name is Loy?
Right. Yeah. I just think I feel like, okay, fair point. But I don't think you needed an ADay to find that out. Not at the expense of other guys' development. It was just being able to send a guy out there in front of what I'm stressing would be the biggest game a lot of these guys have ever played in. If you were in high school last year, when did you play in front of 30,000 people?
Maybe state championships for DD.
Right. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. If you were like a Texas State championship, maybe, but outside of that, there's probably not going to be very many players.
It's a good chance to simulate a high pressure environment and see how guys can do it just in front of their own fans. It was a good mental development can happen during these things. In practice for a lot of schools, it is customary they do things in practice to simulate the raucous environment that you're going to be going into. If you saw that the clip of Penn State, Michigan, I think it was 2 years ago, right? The beginning of the game, their crowd was so loud that they could not get off the first play from scrimmage in the game. And these guys have not faced anything like that. So in practice, what they'll do is they'll play crowd noise over speakers. They'll try to make it as loud and as hard to communicate in practice as possible. So when you go on the road to some place like LSU, you are mentally prepared for how loud it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know how to communicate with your line and you got the signals down and you know how to audible in a raucous environment.
Yeah.
This was a good opportunity for all that for these guys. Right.
Well, that's one thing that they talked about in the post game Harsin talked about in his post game. He was saying that he liked what Mike Bobo was doing with Bo in specific and putting him in basically plays and letting him figure out what the audible needed to be. And so, there were things that Bo was able to do at the line of scrimmage that he has not previously had the opportunity to do. So I liked the approach that they took with Bo in this game.
I did.
So
I did too.
I don't have any problem with how Mike Bobo managed Bo Nix in the ADay game. After that, though, serious questions. And I see, Spicy Penguin talking about, Loy is a senior, give him an opportunity. Yeah. If he's not that much, he should have gotten the Shea Garnett snaps, which is, all right, well, you're never going to play. We'll let you get in, throw, 3 or 4 passes at the end of the game. But why give him an entire half? That's my whole question. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't play in the ADay game at all. An entire half is too much. When we've still got stuff that we need to work. It's clear there are things that we still need to work on offensively. People have been talking about wide receivers. Wide receivers ran the wrong route sometimes.
Right.
There was a route that was happening where Bo threw it. The receiver stopped on the route. Bo threw it like he expected him to keep going. And it was clear that the receiver was wrong. Right. So there was another one where the receiver stopped short on a route. And actually, I think that was a Lloyd incompletion where Lloyd threw it to the guy and the guy stopped instead of
he stopped.
running.
That happened to him too. Yeah.
Right. So
that happened to him as well.
There were situations where receivers were wrong, right? But the timing that you're needing to work out in a practice game needs to happen with a person you anticipate actually seeing the field. You can't waste practice reps on a guy that you don't anticipate playing at all. I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You just need that whole receiver QB relationship. You just need that to be established with people who you're actually counting on to actually play in an actual game. Right. If Lloyd is not that guy, I don't see why he's even getting, to y'all's point. I know we're beating the dead horse, but he shouldn't be getting those types of snaps in that situation.
Yeah. But again, kind of moving off quarterback play, again, my heart hurts for the other guys to get a chance to showcase what they could do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because so much of the play calling is centered around what quarterback you put in there. Look what the first few plays they called for Bo versus the first few plays they called for Davis.
Yeah.
Right. They had Demetrius go out there and hand the ball off.
Right.
And I just thought, all right, are we going to get a chance to see him throw the ball a little bit? And he did. And he didn't disappoint in the couple of throws that he got. Well, he did on that crossing route.
And so these are the things that you anticipate with a freshman starting, right? Is that in his first couple of games of action, this is what I've always been talking about with Demetrius Davis. Accuracy might not be an issue for him. It might be decision making, right? So he's going to take a couple of shots, maybe that he shouldn't. The first go route that he threw up the sideline, I don't know that. He had a one-on-one, but that's not the guy you throw that to. So that's probably not the best decision. The other one that he threw on point, right? Then he throws another laser beam to a guy, on a little quick comeback route. But then he's got a crossing route that he absolutely should never throw. It almost gets picked off, right? So you're going to have those types of things because in college, that's probably open, right? Like because the players aren't as good, the game speed's not the same, in
high school.
No, excuse me, in high school it's not the same, right? But he's going to need to learn that sort of thing. But that's why he needs the practice reps. Because if at some point in time you need him to take the helm, he needs to be playing against your first team. Him playing against first team defense would have gotten him the ability to start understanding what that game speed is going to be
like. Right. Yeah. Listen, Ed Darby, this is why Ed's my favorite. Did Chris Todd get extra reps when he was in the fight for the job and missed time? Coming off a shoulder surgery. Yeah. Right. He had 8
He was buried on the depth chart even after the spring because he was hurt.
He was buried.
He had 8 practices to go in there and make an impact during the fall and won the job. You just have to go out there and perform.
Which should be encouraging because I think they mentioned this early in the spring, but the spring for DD was going to be, this is college. This is an offense. That's all you're focused on. It wasn't, hey, time to climb the depth chart, young fella. It was get your feet wet, get in the strength and training program, in the conditioning program, just get acclimated to college. That's all it was going to be for DD. Right. And we didn't expect him to jump Bo. We did not expect that in the spring. We expected to see him flash, but we expected to see him get an opportunity to flash. And he didn't get enough of that opportunity.
Right. Spicy Penguin says if Lloyd takes a snap, a game snap for DD, he'll super chat $200. Save this. Man, Spicy Penguin, I don't want your money.
Not like that.
Yeah, because here's what you're banking on is we're not going to blow out Akron, and Lloyd's not still the QB.
Yeah,
too. He doesn't get into that game.
I hope that's not money that you end up sending us. But if for some reason Lloyd does take a snap, our Venmo is War Damn Transfer. That's the easiest way to get that money over to the War Report. Don't super chat because you give 45% to YouTube. Make sure you Venmo that one. War Damn Transfer.
I will say this because I do want to ask you fellas a question as we get into the end. The thing that I really want to see offensively that I didn't get to see yesterday is I want to see us get better at throwing the ball downfield. I like the plan they had for Nix to throw kind of the shorter routes. He even checked down to a few throws. Like, that was good to see. But this is something that we've seen in previous years. Defenses just start squatting on those shorter routes and they're daring Bo to throw the ball downfield.
Right.
And one of the things that I saw in the ADay game, we saw it in film review with Devin Aroma should do, is Bo, I want to see him begin to anticipate the receiver getting open instead of waiting till the receiver gets open to throw the ball. That's how he ends up throwing the defender back into the play. Like, that should have been a touchdown for Kobe Hudson.
Yeah. No, that was
was that Kobe?
Malcolm
or was
Johnson.
that Malcolm?
It was Malcolm Johnson on that.
Johnson.
It could have been a touchdown. He threw that way too late, and then he
too late.
Let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on the fly, right? Like, so it was a long throw, but if you let that go before you get to your fifth hitch, then Malcolm Johnson is probably in the right place to run underneath that.
Yeah,
right?
you're not
So
going
when
to
the ball gets there, he's there. He's not waiting on it anymore.
Yeah, he waited for him to break open before he let that go, unfortunately.
Yeah, the anticipation has to be there. You got to know your guy's going to win that.
Absolutely.
He's going to stack that guy and he's going to win that, right? You just got to put the ball up in the air and trust the receivers, right? So I think it's more of a chemistry thing. Right?
Or you check down and hit Shivers, who's running wide open on that sideline, and you still got a 20 plus yard play. Like, again, like, those are things that with practice I expect Bo to get better at. But again, those are things that I do want to see us be able to do. If you're able to run the ball, if you're able to do play action and hit intermediate routes, the last piece of the puzzle is being able to hit pass plays 20 plus or more. And that'll make you're able to stretch the field with your tight ends, receivers coming on. I just think there's a lot of potential. I'm eager to see us begin to put it together once the season unfolds.
Listen, I will say this about Bo. There were throws, again, and I've said this about Bo before now. There were throws where it was like you couldn't do that any better. The first throw of the game that he made was a laser, right? I liked where when we talk about like whether or not he's throwing a guy in a position for him to run after the catch, the tunnel screen that he threw was beautiful, right? He hits on Javaris Johnson. He's able to get back upfield and run. Like, there are things that he does, and you're like, yes, this is what I want to see you do. Mm-hmm. The throw that he hit to Canyon for the touchdown in the back of the end zone, it was a little awkward in its footing, but it's the right place to put the ball at the end of the day, right? He threw it in the right spot for the guy to be able to make a catch and not get devoured by, the safety who's coming back to try to anticipate what's happening there. He threw that at the right time in the right spot. He does that on a consistent basis. If we get the 10 for 13 Bo in the first half for the majority of the season, I guarantee you this team can win 10 games with that Bo Nix playing. There's just no reason why a 10 for 13 with a touchdown Bo Nix can't get us to 10 wins. If he can stretch that over the entirety of a football game. If he ends that game, 20 of 26 with 2 or 3 touchdowns, we're winning that game.
Right.
There's just no reason why Bo can throw for that many yards and that efficiently, and we don't win the football game. Our running game's too good.
Right.
Our defense is too good.
And to Bo's defense, because when I was watching this tape with Ike, he went over that play where so the offensive line had it blocked up fairly well. He did get some pressure from a defensive end. I forgot who was pressuring him.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
And so what he needed to do was step up.
Ramila Height, maybe.
Maybe, I'm not sure. He needed to step up. He didn't step right into. He still waited to step up, and then when he stepped up, he still moved too much. He didn't need as much movement as he gave it, and because of that, he was focused on the rush and made sure. You can tell he's thinking, and that's because he's learning. He's still learning, so it was good to see that he's thinking about it. It's not a fluid process for him yet, so he stepped up and still not quite in the spot he needed to be. And when he threw it, the guy was open. The guy had to come back and attempt to catch it. The DB all in the play. Incomplete pass. He has been taught for the last 2 years at least, Gus Malzahn's offense, I'm going to call this play. This is the person who's going to be open. You're going to see it, and you're going to hit on. When Gus Malzahn's offense worked like Gus wanted it to work, somebody was going to be wide open because the defense is going to react the way I think. I'm going to draw this so they react to that. but look, there's this, we're good. The problem was it didn't work that way. So Bo had to eat passes or had to just hope Seth Williams came down with the pass. And what he's been trained to do is look for the open thing because it's going to be there. You got to trust me. In a great year, sure. 2013, sure. 2017, sure. Otherwise, no, that didn't happen. He has not only has he not been properly trained to anticipate, I think he was trained to not anticipate for 2 years with what was being called and with how that offense was supposed to work. So seeing that play, I thought that kind of encapsulated, here's the problem. Here is why Gus had to go. And this is not to go back to that. You were looking for different things. And now in this offense and for every year after, if you hope to be a professional quarterback, you have to see and anticipate. You're going to step up and throw that ball as your guy is getting past his man because you're reading what position was the safety in as your guys running down the field. Correct. Not that your guy was past the safety.
Right. You look at how many steps that safety took up on that play action. So you understand I've got a really fast guy running this route deep. That safety's got to flip his hips and get back in front of a guy who's already running full speed. Never going to happen. I'm letting this one go.
Right. And those are the keys that he never got a chance to read because the offense didn't allow him to read those keys and react to them. And that's part of the reason, like we've all said, we didn't expect Bo Nix to look like Tom Brady out here. We expected Bo Nix to look better in certain aspects, and he did look better in certain aspects. He also showed what it looks like once you're used to bad coaching or you're used to bad things, and it's going to be a process that there are not enough snaps available in the spring for him to make the improvement that we hope he can make. They are not available. So it's going to be pretty much like a cram session in the fall, hoping that he gets some work with somebody who can continue the development he started in the spring. And hopefully we get him there, man, because like Mike has said, like we've all said, Bo is the guy. Yeah. Bo is the guy. Nobody's going to get enough snaps to make that jump over him. Those snaps aren't available. Bo is the guy, and we got to hope that he can put it together in fall camp.
Yeah. He seems to have a pretty good grasp of what they want to do in the play as far as the playbook is concerned, though. Yeah. He didn't look lost out there. And with it being a completely different playbook and a playbook that requires more of him, I liked the command he seemed to show of what the offense was supposed to be doing. Guys were lined up in so there's a couple of instances where the play came in and a receiver was lined up and he was telling him, he's like, nah, your split needs to be wider. He's telling him, push down a little bit more. That means he understands not just what the play call is, but where people are supposed to be lined up and how far their splits need to be. That's if we want to talk about Bo Nix and how much better he looks, things like that show me, okay, he knows what's supposed to be going on out here. Again, there were instances where he knew what the route was supposed to be for a receiver. He throws that route, receiver runs the wrong one. And so it ends up as an incompletion, right? So I don't have, I said this before, have no issues with Bo Nix and how the team or how the coaches managed him. We get outside of that, though, I got questions I want to ask.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Definitely. I wanted to ask if you were a recruit.
Somebody asked this yesterday. I thought it was a good question.
And Jordan here. So we were talking about if you were a recruit on ADay, what were your thoughts?
That's
a jump ball. Somebody jump in.
I want to acknowledge a person who asked that question because that was a very good question. I want to make sure we get to it. I'm going to go ahead first. So what do I think? If I'm looking at that ADay game, I'm not taking much from the game. And I don't think the purpose was to impress recruits with the ADay show. I think it was to get guys on campus because OVs don't start yet. We haven't really waved the flag or shot the gun to start the race for on-campus recruiting. So if I want to say, sure, you want to come down and watch us, guys take unofficial visits all the time. You can't be chauffeured or ushered around by an official athletic department employee. You can't go in guys' rooms and do all that stuff, but you can still give people an impression of the facilities, of the fan base, of the atmosphere. And Auburn is still, the actual place is the #1 recruiting tool for the program, and it has been for a very long time. Hopefully we can start to even out with the product on the field being just as big a recruiting tool. But for right now, it still is a very big recruiting tool, getting people on campus. And hopefully what he did was go down there and, hey, thanks for inviting me. Well, no, excuse me. That's too much. I don't think they can do that. But I'm guessing he would still speak to the guy he knew that's on the team. Go down there after the game and say, hey, man, I saw you play. Are you liking it? How you feeling about it? All right, well, I'll be back down, for my OV. Get the kids on there. Get them to at least be acknowledged by the kids that are already on the team, by the staff, in whatever way is legal or allowable right now. I don't think there was anything to take from it. Hopefully, whatever they had to show those recruits as far as campus goes, the parents had a good time. They talked to maybe some advisors. That stuff could have happened, and I think that's the only purpose that a recruit would come down, because you can't officially do too much. And I just hope they got a good impression of the campus.
Right. The member who asked the question was the guy who draws what he likes.
There we go.
He said, from a recruiting standpoint, what would today have shown any guys about the program's direction? It would have shown you defensively, we're developing people. You're a defensive recruit.
That's true. That's true.
You might want to come play here, right? You saw that what we think our second team defense went out and got a chance to show off their stuff against the first team offense, and they forced a turnover, and that's encouraging, right? So you see how jacked up those guys were after that turnover. I mean,
yeah, they were very excited.
Yeah, they went out there and they got a chance to compete. Offensively, it's a different
I think
story,
it shows a pivot in the offensive mindset, right? So like if you were a guy who wanted to come and play in an offense that looked more similar to something you would see on NFL Sundays, you saw that from this game. And you said to yourself, okay, the questions you might still have is, do I, if I'm coming in as a freshman, am I going to be able to play and have a legitimate shot, right? Like you wonder, how they're going to manage young players. But you do at least see an offense that looks more capable to put you in positions to feature your skill set, because you're seeing concepts that mirror something that would happen on Sundays as opposed to something that you were doing in high school, right? So I do think that that's encouraging. But I do think also, if you do have friends on the team who were buried in the depth chart, their frustrations are going to echo pretty loudly in your ear.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, recruiting it's job number one for these guys here. After just going out there, you just need to put a product out on the field that's going to make recruits think, I want to go play there. And these guys want a chance to go play at the next level. Your system has to be a conduit for that. And if it's not, you're going to have a hard time recruiting top talent. It's bottom line, right? Like, I mean, that's why the school up the road gets the recruits that they do. Right. If you go play there and you're a 5-star, you're going to make it to the league from that program.
Right.
They have a strong track record of that. If you're a 4-star, still probably a second or third round draft pick. I mean, and they at every position now. Where it used to be just their quarterbacks didn't go on to the next level. They've changed that narrative. So now they're getting top quarterbacks, and we have to be able to do the same. So this is why I'm stressing this number 2 core QB battle was one of the most important storylines this spring. Who's going to win QB number 2? How are they seeing how that guy is performing? How are they evaluating and deciding who's going to back up Bo this year? Right. That's an important. They're all important, man. Listen, backups are important all over the field, but it's particularly a quarterback. I mean, we know in our league now, man, you can't win unless you have a good quarterback. We're not seeing a whole lot of game managers go out there and because defenses have come so far that if you put a game manager out there, they will force you to be one-dimensional.
Right.
And they're going to make that game manager. They're going to make you beat them with that game manager.
Right.
Yeah, if they have the horses, the better teams in our league have the horses to do it too. So I think you're iffy if you're a recruit and you're wait and see. If Auburn was on your list, you want to see how it's going to translate into the fall, but you're not super excited about what you saw on ADay. Let me put it this way: if I'm a recruit, I'm not making any decisions based on what I saw
Right.
on ADay.
And
At
to
best,
be
I'm
fair,
waiting.
and to be fair, it is a dead period. So a lot of these guys are just happy to be on somebody's college campus.
That's
so at the same time, I don't know how much stock you even put into what you're seeing on the field just for the fact you're able to see a college campus. So I just know for me, if I was a recruit, it'll just be cool to see Auburn for what it is. And I think once June 1st gets here and you're actually able to talk with coaches and players and actually be recruited on campus, that could change. So
Right.
I just think just getting them on campus just to see the atmosphere, to see fans in the stands is always an excitement for any potential recruit. So I wouldn't put much stock in what actually happened on the field, more so than the fact that you was actually able to get them unofficially on campus. So that's I'll leave it at that. Guys, listen, you guys are still commenting and we appreciate it greatly.
Yes,
but
sir.
if you haven't already, please, by all means, please share this video on social media. If you're on Facebook, please share it there. If you tweet, please tweet it out. But whatever you do, make sure you hashtag the War Rapport, hashtag the War Rapport, hashtag get your weight up. We've already been I've been seeing you guys doing it already. We appreciate it. Continue to do that. It helps us out a ton because more people get exposed to the content we're putting out there concerning Auburn football. Mike G, what other things we got coming up this week, bro?
Listen, man, there's a lot of places you can go for content, so we appreciate you guys coming here. You got guys out here drawing on whiteboards and doing all this stuff, but we're bringing you something very unique and chop it up with a pro, Chris Todd. We bring former players on to break down positional play with us. This week is QBs. This month has been QBs. So if you missed the first Chop It Up with a Pro this month, Chris came on, answered you guys' questions. We had a great time with that. That was open to everybody due to a technical glitch. But Isaac has promised no glitches this time. So this will be exclusive for insiders. How do you become an insider? $5.99 a month will get you there. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. There's a lot of people out here asking you for something for nothing, not at the War Rapport. So to the extent that you guys support the work that we do, we want to continue to bring you more analysis, more in-depth insight, and more access. So I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised how much value you're going to get from $5.99 in a couple months. Chop It Up with the Pro is just the start. We really enjoyed these segments. They really help teach us about the game and for you guys to learn about the game as well too. I remember a comment, Isaac, a while ago where one of our members said, I hadn't realized how little I actually knew about what I was watching until I saw Chop It Up with the Pro. And I thought that comment was very telling. So $5.99 will get you there. If you're on an iPhone, find a computer, get to our homepage, hit that join button, put it in your card information. Our GoFundMe is live. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. And as always, please get your weight up. The merch store is hot, and these things are hot off the presses for you guys. So we appreciate you guys supporting our content in a variety of different ways. But we are happy to be here with you until the season starts and beyond. And
in addition to that, please check us out. We're going to be back in the Wednesday night war room.
Yep.
Chopping it up some more, answering your questions, hanging out with you guys, talking more about the fallout. I believe Auburn has
on Wednesday.
Yeah, we got JG too.
We got the man JG Tate rolling back through this Wednesday, talking a little ADay game reaction with him. So JG Tate will be back this Wednesday with us. So y'all make sure y'all
don't want to miss that, guys. Don't want to miss that.
Hold on, wait, Caesar. Let me just do this again, Devin. If you want to become a member on an iPhone, you cannot do it through the YouTube app. What you have to do is you have to go to your Safari browser, type in youtube.com, and there are two little A's in the top left of the address bar. Click that and then request desktop site. And then you should be able to see the join button. If you try to process it through the App Store, essentially Apple wants to take another 30% of your membership fee, which is why they don't let you do YouTube memberships through the App Store. So if you can sign up on a computer, and as long as you're logged in with the same credentials, your perks will transfer to your iPhone. Just want to be clear. So as long as it's the same account, you log on from your phone and your insider perks will be there.
That's it.
Bet that up.
Just like that.
All right.
I just didn't get a chance to use these, man. We're gonna start.
I feel, but there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time.
We got time. We got time.
Listen, guys, please like and subscribe to us. If you haven't already, please do that. That helps us out. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at The War Rapport. We are TW Rapport on TikTok. Signing out for today's show, but of course we'll be back. But until then, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle. Peace.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.